Live life carefree, looking out for better days. Just call it a raise, I'm hoping to rise. Love on my black sisters, let's collab, not collide. While our people provide, light skin, dark skin, but we all on the same side. Come together on the same time, dark and lovely. Yeah, I love mine, beautiful we are, huh? Queens we are, I must admit, and we will go far. Don't ever forget, yeah, I must admit, black queens we are.
Dark and lovely I am, the color of beautiful, beautiful, wonderfully made, the color of beautiful, beautiful. God made me beautiful. Yeah, I am so
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know her yet personally, but just reading her bio, I went and looked Dr. Jatto up. She is phenomenal.
She's phenomenal. She is absolutely phenomenal. And I know she is super, super busy. She happens to be my personal physician. And you'll see after she gets done, you'll be trying to move here, fly here, take a train, a camel, a bus, however you get here, you're going to get here to see Dr. Jatto. So I am honored and so, so, so grateful that she took time out of her busy schedule to join us today. And I'm just going to give you a little overview of who Dr. Claudette Jatto is, affectionately known to many as just Jatto. But Dr. Jatto is the founder and visionary and owner of Jatto Internal Medicine and Wellness Center. And it was created out of a strong desire to improve the delivery of comprehensive medical care. She's located in central Pennsylvania, specifically in the Harrisburg area, in the capital. And her goal really, and I can say this as a true testament of who she is, her goal definitely is to form a strong partnership. Your healthcare with her under Jatto Internal Medicine is a partnership with patients to achieve a balanced healthcare system, just your whole entire being, because she definitely focuses on the healthcare and the medicine part, the medical part, but then she has another side, which is the wellness center. So to balance, she looks at the complete you and you become a partner in your healthcare. So the mission of the Practice and Wealth Center is just what I said, create a balance and to establish that excellent outpatient adult medicine care, medical care. And I'll say this, I can go on and on about her. I don't want to take up too much time because I want her to give you everything that she has while she's here. But Dr. Jatto is trained and certified in the art and science of Botox. This is on the wellness side, the art of derma fillers and sclerotherapy solutions from the Aesthetic Skin Institute in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. She's practiced as an internist since 2000. And again, she's here in central Pennsylvania. She definitely, in the wellness part, she takes care of everything. And I know as women, we're here today, we want to hear about a lot of this non-invasive procedures that can happen that will prevent in the future having to have, a lot of people think they start seeing things happening as we age. Dr. Karen was saying something earlier about can't wait to see Dr. Jatto, hear from Dr. Jatto and see what she can do for some of us who are aging, and we're seeing some things happening in the face. And unfortunately, a lot of people run off to have plastic surgery before time. And Dr. Jatto is going to tell us about some of the things that is available, some of the things that are available as a means of prevention. But she also, in her wellness practice, helps with weight loss management. She definitely does that. She does aesthetic services, addiction treatment. For those who have specific needs, who have certain addictions, she's certified, trained, and an expert in that. And the overarching goal, again, is to help patients look and feel good inside and out. I definitely wanted her to come here because we are celebrating women of color. And one of the things that is really important for women of color to, we're always looking for the wealth, and for those of us who are entrepreneurs and business, and those who even work in the marketplace, we're out there trying to do the best that we can, give the best that we can. And as women, there's mothers on here and you have children, so you're busy raising your children. Marriage in and of itself is something else. So I hear it's something of itself. So that's another job. And you just have so many things. A lot of us are active in our communities. And so we give, and we're the last one to take care of ourselves. We give to everybody else, take care of everybody else. And sometimes our health can suffer as a result. So I wanted Dr. Jatto to come on and talk about the importance of the overall wellness. But then the other side, on the International Shades of Beauty side, we use our platform to talk about just plastic surgery. That's a big thing. We talk about a lot of things, but plastic surgery, and people, just beautiful women and young girls dying, literally dying to be beautiful because they're going off to places that are unsafe. They're pulled in by, oh, it doesn't cost this much, and you can get this, and you can get all of these things done in other countries, and no one is stopping to vet these places that they're going to, these alleged plastic surgeons, who a lot of them turn out not to be, and they're having surgery done. Some are dying right on the table. Others, they make it through the surgery, but they end up with a grotesque infection. And by the time they get back here to the States, the infection has spread throughout their bodies, and sometimes it's too late. And so I wanted Dr. Jatto to talk today about safety, health safety, even how to vet some of these places if that's where you're going to go, but definitely talk about some of these procedures like she does in her practice, some of these non-invasive procedures. You'd be surprised of what they can do. And you probably would get the same results as if you would go under the knife without all that other risk. But I'm gonna stop because I'm not Dr. Jatto. So I'm gonna turn it over right now to my personal physician. I love her so much, Dr. Claudia Jatto.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever we're pulling in from. It's a beautiful day. I'm extremely honored, humbled, and I first want to give a shout out with a lot of thanks and props for the whole concept, the concept of shades of beauty. Wouldn't it have been amazing when we were little kids if we had an organization like this? So much of the trauma that women of color have been through is having, at a very young age, wishing there was something else because they had nothing out there that served as a mirror to let them know how amazing, gifted, spectacular they were. So first, let's start with the concepts and the very few things that happened before I got on the screen. I was loving the music about brown skin. I listened in, and I usually take my energy, I usually take my concepts from the very first thing that starts at the beginning of a conference. And the fact that that music came on touched my soul. It touched me, it said, check yourself and see me. So I pay close attention, I soak in things, and I absorb. So that to me was a phenomenal entrance. Thanks, Dr. Karen, for putting it out there that there's really no difference in the various colors of our beautiful skin, including, may I add, women of Caucasian descent. There's always a little insecurity that has come to the female, quote unquote, species, that we have to validate ourselves by how we look. So here we are to take back that, to affirm ourselves, to realize that it's not so much that, but it's to understand the beauty that lies within. And thank you, Ms. Dextricia, I think, who started us with a beautiful meditation and got everybody centered. And with that, I just want us to realize that irregardless of the information I give, you're already coming to the table well. You came out well, you came out beautiful into this physical world. You came out amazing. You actually came out healthy, you came out beautiful, you came out strong. And the question is how you see it, how you feel it, and how you're willing to tap into it so that you can be in the best place of wellness. With that said, I want to share a little bit about the concept of health, the concept of wellness, the concept of beauty, the concept of abundance. I really don't see a distinction. I honestly don't see a distinction. It's a continuum. To be well is to be healthy. To be beautiful is to be healthy. To be abundant is to be healthy. To be present is to feel a sense of balance. So these are words I think we can all connect with, because everyone has that sensibility about them where they know they're in the well spot when they feel everything is flowing and they're not running against strong currents. It's that feeling of knowing that your physical health, your mental health, your spiritual health all seems to line up. And there's nothing that holds you back from being the best you can be for that day. So as an internist who's board certified, I am very grateful for being traditionally trained. That has allowed me to explore not only the evidence-based medicine of the scientific aspect of what medicine has brought, it has allowed me to tap into some of these amazing technologies that have allowed us to individualize how we care for one another. That means that I can use my wherewithal to be able to go beyond you coming into the office to have your blood pressure, your vitals, and have traditional advice, but to individualize through more artificial software that is now available for clinicians who want to be able to customize that patient's, client's healthcare. We're not all alike, and so we can't all have the same strategies presented to us as if it would work for A, B, C, D, E. It doesn't work that way. We all come to the table with an innate sense of genetics, environment, nurture, mindset, lifestyle. So that means that your care should be customized in a way that allows you to be able to get the information that actually pertains to you and create a foundation out of that. The second part of my love and passion is being a board certified lifestyle medicine. You don't see a lot of us in the community, meaning in the US at large, and I'm actually going to even say globally. But these are physicians who've decided to go back to school and understand that in the way we live our lives, we can cure things, we can solve things, we can actually prevent things so that we don't necessarily have to rely dependently on traditional based models of just managing chronic care diseases. So I bring this up because it's very intuitive, it's very common sense, but it is fact that nutrition in of itself can heal, can cure, can prevent, and can be the foundation of our beauty regimen. so that as all the other presenters who will come after me and share more and more, which I'll humbly and excitingly look forward to being a part of, there's no getting away from the fact that you are what you eat. And so that science of being able to individualize at every stage in a woman's journey the right micro and macronutrients that are going to optimize her health is super key. And that's the beauty of being able to have providers, or better yet, seek where you live, providers who can tap into more, not sophisticated, but more in-depth looking at what would be best for me, so that if I have certain conditions and I'm not quite getting the results with extremely good nutrition that I know I've put a lot into, then something means that what I'm doing is not for where I'm at. So by that token, it means whether we are pre-teenagers, teenagers, young adults, childbearing, perimenopausal, menopausal, and advanced age, that possibly could mean that our nutrition evolves to meet the needs where we're at the stage we're at, to optimize our health. So what I will simply say on nutrition, because there's so much to share, is that we have to start going back to natural. Let's start going back to food should look like food that comes from how it's sourced versus refined to the point where the very essence of the nutrients are gone. And that means that we get devoid of the very things that make us operate as physically possibly in our best health. I think we all agree that sleep has something to do with wellness, because all of us can connect with, if we have to jet set, we may have the bags under our eyes, we feel tired, our skin's not right when we break out in acne, if we're under a lot of what I would call stress and the sleep's not going well, we can always tell in a matter of days that we're going to feel run down. So it's going to be important that part of your beauty regimen is to understand the type of sleeper you are. Are you a lark or are you an owl? Are you somebody who should be going to bed earlier versus late? Are you somebody who's getting the third and fourth stages of REM, where all the beauty stuff happens, all the wellness stuff happens, all the mind, what I would call reset happens? So it's going to be super important that we have a clear understanding of our sleep. There's so many sleep apps, there's so many physicians who are getting better at understanding how to interpret sleep, that could be part of your beauty regimen. Exercise by no means should be underestimated. We are meant to move. In the moving comes the blood flow. In the blood flow comes the nourishment. In the nourishment comes the optimization of all the physical aspects of the health you can have. So it's going to be actively important to move. And I didn't use the word exercise because not everybody likes that strategy of going to a gym. That's not what I have in mind. What I have in mind is understanding the right type for your body, the type that you would enjoy, so the type you would actually be able to consistently partake of. And in that will come the better skin, the better hair, the anti-aging, the strength, the muscles, the contouring. These all add to that foundation of wellness. Nothing can be underestimated as much as lifestyle, because you've got the positive things, but you've got the things that take away from us. So when it comes to the positive things, we know that those who meditate, like what Mrs. Vaught did, you can just see them walking up every day with almost their day set. Before anybody takes one thing out of them, they are good to go. That's already a well-built person. That person is going to age better that day because they are able to accommodate for the unforeseen challenges of that day. Somebody who sits down takes time to be grateful. Somebody who sits time to find that inspiration. Somebody who sits down and takes that time to exercise. You see that they age better. You see that they feel well. And even with genetical conditions that may be coming, they have a better chance of being able to thwart the outcome of that particular ailment. I want to now start to navigate into a whole nother section, which comes to being able to say, what has really happened to us in the last 2 to 3 years? There's no question about it that you have to be under a rock not to have seen the effects of COVID. There's just no way. If it did not affect you mentally, maybe it affected you financially. If it did not affect you financially, maybe it affected your family with loss. If it did not affect you with loss, maybe it took the joy of your being ability to do the things that you may have always wanted to do. If you're a traveler, if you're an outdoorsy person, all that got taken away. And this is what I would say in the last 2 years has really opened my eyes, because 2 years later, as we're now getting back into our rhythm and flow, I began to see patients who aged dramatically in 2 years. This had nothing to do with money. This had nothing to do with those who had less access. It had a lot to do with how lifestyle can make a difference. It had a lot to do with how nutrition can make a difference. It had a lot to do with how people were not able to access clinicians in the way they had in prior years. And so that became in of itself a quick understanding of how fast we can age in a short amount of time when one is not able to put all these little building blocks together to be able to be at their best. So I will simply say that from that experience, a lot was learned, that the better way to take care of your beauty, the better way to take care of your health is into integration. We saw people who had COVID and they came out of it despite being older. But if you dial it back, some of them had some very strategic, lifestyle approaches that allowed them to be able to get past it and not even have post issues. We actually had some young people who surprised us and did not do well, or better yet, they got past the COVID, but actually had so many issues that as we speak still persist, that has become what I would call the beginning of my passion of re-engaging, remotivating, reaffirming, reminding, and reassuring us that this is going to be the only way to be beautiful. It's the only way to be beautiful if you have an ownership mentality on how you choose to take care of yourself. It's going to be the only way on how you make sure you take amazing care of your mental wellness. This is going to be the only way, unless you decide and determine how to keep a positive circle around you, despite whatever challenges you're going through. So many speakers coming behind me, many speakers have the expertise, but I want to encapsulate it, that the beauty that we all seek on the out begins on the in. The beauty that we all seek is a continuum. The beauty that we all seek is the multifaceted approach to thinking of all of these as little bits and pieces that come to make a whole that makes and defines how well you get to be beautiful, which is truly a state of mind and not a physical appearance. Last part I'll get to, because I would love to take questions and things of that nature, would be to talk about the fact that the beauty that we have as women of color is that we actually age well. We've got a few good things going for us, no question about it. We have the ability to have the skin type that doesn't wrinkle so well, or not so well, but doesn't wrinkle prematurely. We have the ability to look back and see that we have some amazing defining features that maybe years ago were looked at as ethnic. But if you take a look right now, the rest of the world is trying to catch up with those very things that were considered to be negatives. So whether it's full luscious lips, whether it's nice dark skin tones, whether it's a nice ample body figure, that is beauty all of a sudden. So you can see that beauty has always been within us to begin with. It's just a matter of us now coming to terms with the beauty we always had. Having said that though, I will say that it's better not to chase a line. We chase a line, it kind of gets too late. The way we look at beauty now is more natural. The way we look at beauty now is more of a science of having less. because the less you have, the more you look like yourself. The more you have is the less you look like yourself. And so right now it's to restore your youthful look, subtly correct volume loss, investing wonderful anti-aging. And some of that comes through the things we talked about, from good health care to good nutrition, to good exercise, to knowing the right kinds of supplements, not just the stuff you put on your skin, but the right type of supplements depending on your age category. That could be actually a beauty boost. Things from certain vitamins that enhance collagen to certain types of neuropeptides and amino acids that one could actually incorporate into one's supplemental regimen, to having a good concept of volume fluid intake. These things do make us look beautiful. Having said that, I would love women of color to embrace a little bit of the anti-aging new strategies that are available. I think that that would allow us not to take drastic protocols of treatment down the line, because we do age better. So that means that little things will actually make a huge difference with us as compared to doing big things. And so what I've loved doing is creating more of what I call a natural look, which means that I really, really, really do not want my clients to be identified as having work done. To me, that actually is a humongous negative. If my clients are told who did your Botox or who did your filler or who did this and that, I really want them to come out looking as though they went on vacation to somewhere nice and rested. And people say things like, oh my God, what's your shade of foundation? I love it. Could you share that with me? Or what's your shade of lipstick? Or have you lost some weight under your neck? Your neck looks trimmer. That tells me that it's been because we did the work sooner, not later. I was able to do a little, not a lot. And we've, in essence, maintained your true features and not changed them, because you've already come to the table beauty. And I would hate to have anybody ever consider that having a total radical look would actually make them look beautiful. It may make you look strange. So having said that, I think I have a quick share I could have of a few things I've done before and after. I could run through a few slides, maybe share a little bit. Ms. Robin will help educate me whether there's time for a share after that, because I sometimes feed better off of questions so that I don't just hear myself talk for an indefinite amount of time. Let me attempt to share my screen and see if this goes well. Bear with me, I'm not tech savvy. So let's see how we do this. Okay. Alrighty, so let's sign back in. Okay. Can everybody see me? Anybody out there who can give me a yes or no?
We can see you, Dr. Jatto, but we can't see your screen.
So I'm gonna go ahead and see if anything shows up. Does anything show up?
No.
Okay, so let me go back and see if I shared my screen in a manner that would allow us to see what I have up. So
Okay.
bear with me. Mm-hmm.
See down. Okay, there.
Okay. Are we seeing anything right now?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay,
We
good.
can see some before and afters in your gallery.
Fantastic. Thank you everybody for your true accommodation here. So
Mhm.
a few things. These are all my various clients that I've worked with over the years. And there's so many things that I do. So as Ms. Robin has mentioned, and thank you so much, dear, is that I really enjoy all of it. I love the technology that I've been able to not only learn, but become good at when it comes to body contouring. I know that there are lots of drastic procedures, for instance, liposuction, big tummy tucks, and by all means, I am not in any way bashing it, please, I am not. However, I will show you pictures of things I've done that have not required a nip and a tuck. I also do neurotoxins, and there's a gamut of them. Many of us have heard things like Botox, Dysport, Xeomin. These are things to relax strong wrinkles that we may have around the eyes, we may have on the forehead, or maybe sometimes in the middle of our forehead, that may give the impression that we're frowning. I also do a lot of work with PRP, hair loss. As a woman of color, this is something very, 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 very passionate to me, because all of us, even for those that have different head textures or have come to the table with what I would call the fuller, thicker hair, I think that every woman of color can identify with hair issues. So whether we're trying to give our hair a break by having a wig on, or better yet, we are trying to try some hair protective styles, we do feel hair as a crown of beauty. It's so interesting that we had a humongous kerfuffle just about a week ago on what would be called one of the bigger stages, where literally two people of fame went at it about a woman of color who not only has hair loss from alopecia, but felt a certain way regarding how that was brought up as a joke. So this tells you that even regardless of access to money and all that, hair is something that we can all connect with. We have a few pictures I'm going to show on fillers, and I'm going to show you a few things that I've done where without major surgery, I can do a total face rejuvenation. So what I'll do is I'll run through the slides. Then I would love the opportunity to stop. And Ms. Robin, if people have questions and they raise chats, would you be a moderator so that I could just answer questions and things like that? Would that be something we could do?
Oh, yes, that's what we can do. No worries.
All right, sounds like a plan. So let's get started. All right, so I'm going to load up here. I am going to try to I will just show things done. And I have, I would say, clients of all ethnicities. So I just want to put that out there. And so a lot of my clients come from different ethnicities. Let's see if we can move that. Okay, let me move this out the way. And let's show that. Okay, so you will see here, it speaks for itself. Somebody wanted a procedure to help with certain folds of fat. So we can discuss things that may have been done in that regard. I am going to now move to another round of pictures. Let me get this out of the way. There we go. Good, so now with that, I'm gonna go back to here. So these would probably be people who've had the traditional, you've heard of Botox fillers, so you can have the more relaxed look. The key is not to overdo it. The key is to make it look soft, make it look gentle, and not make it look fixed. Okay. I'm going to go into some hair we've done. So you can see that this is something as a woman of color myself, I've not only dealt with myself, but we all have had issues with our, I would call hairline. And so there are certain procedures that over the years I've worked strongly and hard with, especially with people of color, to make sure I get better at being able to help with hair regrowth, especially without considering going into some major surgical outcomes. This is a lady of Caucasian descent. If you look at her center of her scalp, you will see closely that there's a little bit of hair regrowth within 3 months on some of the procedures we've done. This is somebody that totally was, had a full frontal baldness. We worked really hard to at least get some more hair so that she could do her hair in an updo. So I'm going to X out of that. And I am going to just show you a few other things. So these are some of the things we do with facial fillers, but I have a little bit of what I would call a mix of things I like to do with these, and I'd like to customize so that we don't end up with what I would call this extremely made up face, because that to me is never the compliment. So I'm going to get started. To my right is her before To the left is her after. So, but on this slide, it's going to be the opposite way around. To the left is her before, to the right is her after. To the left is her before. And so we did a few things here because she was now at this point interested in full facial lift. And being that I had known her for about 20 years, I decided that I wanted her to have a more natural look. So I was able to convince her to let's try something different. And that's good there. So we can talk a little bit about maybe some weight management, weight loss. So I took this before picture, and then this was about 6 months later. She was an extremely petite lady, as you can see from her lower half, but she had put on a lot of weight in the middle, and I felt that that was not only distorting, but it also was taking away her confidence. She had gone through a lot, and I worked really hard with her, and she was simply amazing in coming to the table with the mindset of I know what I am and I know who I am, and I'm ready to put in the time, the nutrition advice, the customization, and we're able to go down 4 dress sizes. I will quickly go into maybe some technologies that we have where I'm now able to utilize beyond, say, weight loss strategies. I'm able to utilize certain modalities of treatments that are able to contour off areas that may have a little more stubborn body fat. So in this particular case, this is somebody who very active, strong exerciser, but just had the lower under the belly button fat deposit that we worked hard on with a laser energy-based modality of treatment. This was somebody that we also applied weight management strategies. This was customized. She had that mindset of I'm going to do this. We were able to use some laser therapies and interventions. And by the last treatment, we had some skin tightening procedures, and none of this was surgical. So I just want to put that out there. We have a lady here who I did some treatments on her thigh. And so you can see to the left is before, the second picture is an after. And this is a man. So I know that Miss Robin had talked about, we're going to have our wonderful brothers on this session shortly. That's amazing. And I will say that I have a lot of male clients too. And that's because we're getting to a point where men also begin to realize it's no longer enough to be financially successful, but it's also their journey to have that balance of physical wellness, mental wellness. And they are coming to the table to open to the idea of getting care for themselves. And this was somebody who had some medical conditions that had decided he was not interested in now taking more prescriptions from his doctor for prediabetes, hypertension, and early onset lipid changes. And with actually working with his nutrition and his extremely busy lifestyle as a businessman, we were able to get him off his prescriptions, which was actually my biggest joy, not so much his weight loss. And we worked on a few things. This is a young lady. As you can see, she is not overweight by any stretch of the imagination, but even for the extremely thin athletic people, we can all connect to this, that sometimes your body won't let go of certain places. So we worked on some modalities of treatment that worked. So with that being said, I will quickly go to maybe one last one so I can stop and hopefully have time to maybe take a picture too. So let's see. Okay, so I will do this. We women of color tend not to so much need lip augmentation, but I will say there's a woman of color here that did need lip augmentation because one side of her upper lip, as a little kid, she had a big injury with a scar. And to me, she looked gorgeous, but she had a consciousness about it. And so we decided that we would do something, and that's lip augmentation. This is a young lady who clearly wanted to have a little more lip augmentation, and that's what we did. So I think I have a lot more, but I would prefer to stop. And that way I would prefer to maybe have the opportunity to maybe take questions.
Okay, Dr. Jatto, those questions are coming in. They are coming in. So the first question is from Michelle Walker Davis, and she is asking for frown lines on the forehead. What is the procedure and the possible risk over time.
Okay. So when we talk about fine lines, Michelle, I'm going to ask that I'm guessing you're talking about the horizontal frown lines on the frontalis muscle, but I also have to say that we have these strong frown lines that can be in the center. We call those lines that come from that, bringing the two eyes together and knitting. Sometimes those lines can become etched over time. This is one of the few places I will say that we are as an ethnic race, regardless of your spectrum, Fitzpatrick 5, 4, 3. I will say that I tend not to see the deeper lines in women of color. But I will say, though, that I am not unopposed to the idea of very minimal neurotoxin there. I'm not unopposed to the idea of having certain types of laser-based energies called microneedle with a laser attached to that called radio frequency, especially if you do not like the idea of having like a Botox. Those allow the skin and the lines to build new collagen so they can soften over time. There's amazing skincare, and I would not be surprised if you have people who may be coming after me to talk about skincare and facials and things you can do. But I will say that some of those lines are not just skin lines, they are action lines of muscles over time, creating indentations in the actual layers of skin that actually sometimes would require you seeing somebody you feel comfortable being extremely clear with them. You do not want a fixed face. You want to be an expressive person. You want to be able to just soften them. Many of these things that are used to actually reduce those lines, Michelle, are not necessarily harmful. Neurotoxins come from a particular organism that makes onabotulinum toxin, and that is just a modality of having the nerve endings stop making the muscles so aggressive. And so once you have a little bit of time to not have that aggressiveness with your facial muscles, that muscle lets go of the skin and the skin relax. I'm going to be super honest. It's something I would like to see more women of color doing, and I'll tell you why. Because that allows your skin to age better. It also allows the oil distribution to improve. It also allows for those who may not even realize they're having tension headaches and sometimes even migraines from some stress. It sometimes can ease that. And I think that beyond the aesthetics of it, I have quite a few patients that I actually use this now as a modality of treatment so that they're not walking around with a ton of tension in their scalp and in their neck, or along the temples of their face that they don't even know is coming from just stress and tension. And so sometimes I call it my twofer. They look good, but they feel even better. And so they get out there and they even do good. I don't know if this answered your question, Michelle, but if not, throw out another question on that and I'm happy to take it. But
She said, yes, it has. Everyone that's on here now, your mics have been unmuted. So you can actually jump in and ask Dr. Jatto a question, but we ask that you use the raise your hand feature so that we're not cutting each other off. In the interim, Hope Cheeks has a question. She says, good morning, Dr. Jatto, wonderful presentation and information. How many treatments of PRP did your patients need before you saw significant regrowth? And will they need continued treatments?
good question. Everyone is different. For those who had minor hair loss, like say hairlines, I have had like 2 sessions, and I want to be pretty upfront that before I even do it, I do a few things. I will actually assess you. So part of why I had this conversation, I didn't show you pictures first, was I didn't want to come off as procedures just solve things. I want to be very clear about the fact that I would love that opportunity to not only examine you, make sure there are no nutritional deficiencies. Sometimes I even order blood work to make sure you don't have any issues with, say, hormonal changes. Sometimes I may want to get medications that your primary care doctor has you on. Why? What if you're on a medication that's causing hair loss and you have no idea? Sometimes I even want to get some genetical background information. Sometimes you're doing everything right. You take amazing supplements. You are an active person. You are not stressed out. You're savvy. You even have supplements going. But there may be a genetic condition. There may be an autoimmune condition. You may not even know that. And so a good outcome means a good workup. So some of those outcomes that you're liking, you see, was because of the work before the procedure. So I have in scenarios where there is no underlying reason, sometimes one session can get the hair follicles to go from what's called a rest phase to the beginning of the regrowth phase. Sometimes you have actually hair follicles that are dormant from stress, from androgenetic alopecia, from some signs of male pattern, some signs of maybe post-childbirth, maybe 2 sessions. What if you're getting to the point where you have something that's very common in the African community called CCCA? Those ones are my passion projects. Those are the ones that I really want to work hard with you so that it may not just be what I'm doing to your scalp. I may be actually prescribing some treatments for you. So the answer is it depends. It depends on what our possible etiology is for where you're having somewhat of a loss. And I think that that will dictate upon clarity of testing and workup, whether it's a session, 2 sessions, 3 sessions. Now, if there are multiple reasons, sometimes into the PRP, I add things. I will say sometimes I'll be adding stem cells. Sometimes I'll be adding anti-inflammatories if you have an autoimmune condition. Sometimes, so that's quite a bit. So I wouldn't want to go past that, but I would simply say it depends.
Thank you. I see host Karen Moore has a question. Karen, Dr. Karen. Dr. Karen, your hand is raised. You have to come off mute. There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm on 2 different machines. I don't know what
I
I'm
know.
doing. Thank you so much, Dr. Jatto. That was a phenomenal presentation. I have a million questions, but if anybody else doesn't raise their hand, I'll get the help I need now. So what do you recommend for trouble sleeping? I know how important sleep is, and I think that many times, especially for women who are very busy and have a lot going on, and our minds don't seem to shut down, and you're only getting a minimal amount of sleep a night. What is your recommendation for sleep issues?
Honestly, Karen, thanks for that question. So sleeping is one of my bigger passions. I am yet to meet a healthy person who is having a little bit of trouble because you can only go but so far. After a while, you almost feel like you're running on empty, and it's so multifactorial. You could be looking literally at the changes of life. We don't talk enough about these things, the changes of life. You could have from the estrogen changes, they could be that hypothalamus, circadian, thermostat dysregulation. And without going into medical jargon, what I'm basically saying is that we have what we call control centers in our brain. Right up there in the hypothalamus, the suprachiasmatic nucleus. They're working with another system that's called the reticular activating system. They're working with another system that creates your wake-sleep cycle. They're working with another system that's coming from the hormonal interplay. That's working with another system to understand your temperature regulation. That's working with another system to talk about your nutrition. Would you believe that sometimes to get it right, you would need to take a step back and actually, without making this sound complicated, troubleshoot from a dietary change? Sometimes I change people's breakfast to dinner, dinner to breakfast. Sometimes I change their workout schedules. Sometimes I realize from their hormonal assays, they actually are progestogen sensitive, and I look for bioidenticals. Sometimes they are fine. They are what I call late night sleepers. What we just have to do is make sure there's an efficiency. Sometimes they actually have a sleep disorder. And I'm so thankful that they're not sleeping, because by the time I do a sleep study, I discover that they actually have a sleep disorder that requires treating. And thank goodness they don't sleep so they don't end up with sudden death. Sometimes it's so stressful that your brain is on a super highway the moment you try to close your eyes, and all you're doing is thinking of what you're going to do the next day, and this and that and that and that. And there are so many integrative, not just prescription, but not only herbs, but teas, but spices, that by the time you understand the correct adaptogenic blend for yourself, you may find out that you may even do better going on an Ambien or a what are the things that most people have heard of? Let's think here. Or a Restoral, but you may be that person that needs to have something mixed. Who knows? Maybe a valerian root mixed with kava. Maybe you're the guy who's not for chamomile, or maybe you're the guy that should be on oral lavender. So what I would say, Karen, is this. For me, sleep is key. For me, nothing in the day is going to go well if the night doesn't start well. So your day is your night is your day. You can't distinguish the two. Part of the longevity that we seek in our beauty, in our lifespan, is going to be pivotal to break down the sleep issue, but then identify and resolve it. We can at some point offline chat, but Miss Robin will tell you, I'm 100% on that whole sleep thing. So that in of itself is almost like a specialty in of itself. We actually have medical doctors who are called sleep experts actually. And that tells you that as clinicians, we are now just beginning to scratch at the surface of how important sleep is and how undiscussed sleep is. So I would simply start by saying, I would love you to maybe sit down and start to maybe journal, what does my day look like before I sleep? So that we can see if it's a day transitioning to a night problem, or if truly there's a night challenge that needs to be addressed. So maybe this is a topic for one-on-one, but I would simply say, Miss Karen, that sleep is super crucial, super, super, super crucial. We've got to sleep good. I'm not good if I don't sleep. I have a busy practice. I have other centers I manage. I just don't know how to do it if I don't sleep well. So I feel the key to wellness is that amazing sleep where you feel like you're ready to go. So I want that for each one of us on this platform.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Is there a particular, I know that it can vary by person, but what is really the recommended amount of hours for sleep a night?
It's amazing. I love that question because you're right. There's this misnomer out there, myth. I sometimes see they say 7 to 8 hours and all that. You almost cut yourself short by saying, oh my God, I'm not sleeping well. I think sleep is when you wake up and you feel good and refreshed. Because if you're able to cycle through the 4 stages of sleep and you're getting through your REM and non-REM sleep and you get back to that, those last 2 parts of your sleep are where the magic happens. That is pivotal to where you have your free radicals taken out of your system. You have your thermostat reset so your body core temperature lowers. You have your heart go to the slowest rate possible because that heart has been beating even before you got to know who you were. So that heart only gets a break when you sleep into a particular phase of sleep. Your lungs relax, your countenance relax, you have the dreams, things like that. So some people can pull that off in 5 hours. Some people can pull that off in 5 good, deep hours. And you'll hear people say that, I'm out. But then I get up at 4 and I can't go back to sleep. But the question is, if you went to bed early, you got up and you had 5.5 to 6 hours, are you refreshed? Do you feel ready to go? Are you ready to tackle the day? Are you ready to start your meditation? Are you ready to get up and do a morning exercise? You may be one of those who wakes up early, and that's me. I like deep sleep, but I'm an early riser so that I can attack the day before the day attacks me. So it means that you have to identify how you feel. Do I wake up feeling refreshed and ready to go? Do I feel like I have to go back and get some more hours because I'm tired and foggy? Do I feel during the day that I'm not focused and alert and attentive and I almost feel like I need a cat nap? Do any people that I've ever had in a room with me ever bring back information that I have snored? These are ways, we call them stopgap, that can start to clue you and your provider as into maybe your 6 hours is good because none of those questions are negatives, or maybe your 9 hours is terrible because even though you get 9 hours, you're still waking up with not being ready to go. So my answer is, it depends on your biological clock. We're not all set with the same clock, but you've got to understand the clock that you've been given. If you're going to be a 5-hour person, is it working? And if you're an 8-hour person, is it working? Because it wouldn't matter if you got 8 or 9 or 5, it's how are you doing with the time you're getting.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Marie has a question, Dr. Jatto. She's asking, are there any foods that you recommend that we stay away from?
Oh boy, yes. I hope I don't get in trouble here.
I know you're going to say all the sugary sweet stuff, the stuff I like, my weakness, and all the starches, the bread.
You know what? Actually, I'm going to surprise you. I'm going to say carbohydrates have been bashed for way too long. And I actually think that for women in particular, carbohydrates are essential. And that's why women will tell you that, I'm craving, this and I'm craving that. I think the elimination is part of some of the dysfunction we've had with food. And I think that anytime you're eliminating things, you're creating a relationship where you're now going to think of that as something you can't have. And in life, when I'm told or anybody's told you can't have it, you go there because that's the thing you think of. But I will say there are a lot of things that over time are beginning to become clear to us that even if you do not eliminate them, maybe a little less is better. We're going to talk about foods that cause end acetylated glycolic end products. I chose to bring that term up because I think it's important that we start to delve a little bit into what does that mean? These are foods that when you digest them, you are left with things that actually not only age you, but are more likely to turn on premature health issues, be it diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular risk, or better yet, cancer. If in fact you have the genetic possible predisposition, meaning any food groups that you have way too much of that are likely to turn on the wrong things are the things you should have least of. So we know that foods that are very high in polyphenols, so whether you come from the fruit group with the berries and the acais and the raspberries and your colored mangoes and your kiwis and your pomegranates, I mean, just looking at the color, the cherries is telling you something. That beautiful God-given color is letting you know that in there is something so high in antioxidation that it's willing and ready and able to wipe out a ton of all the leftovers from the stressors of your life. Also, when you now think about the foods that are coming to us today, they're quicker, they're refined, they're fastly prepared. They come out of bottles that have sat on shelves. They are put in your frozen freezer. You have to ask yourself, how is that food able to stay a food and not go bad? That preservative, is that what I need in me? So anytime you have something that is 3, 4, 5, 6 times removed from the intended starting point it was from nature, is a call to you to decide how much of that you need. So carbohydrates are good for us on the record, but what type of carbohydrates? If you're having carbohydrates that come out of the quinoas, if they're coming out of your sweet potatoes, if they're coming to you in your rice, but you're having in moderation, if you're having your textured bread, but you're not having too much, if you're having your potatoes, but you're enjoying them because you made them, they're good for you. We need them for the energy. So the more wholesome, nature-based your food is, the more likely you're skewing without even realizing it to getting a lot of not only macronutrients, but what about the micronutrients, the things that we don't think about? the magnesium, the chromium, the selenium, the biotin that we all have heard about that are good for our skin and our nails, right? The zinc, the copper, the vitamin C's, the B12s. These exist in wholesome foods. Your soys, your grains have the B's, your green leafy vegetables. So what I'd like to do is turn this around and say this. I would prefer not to talk only about things that are bad for you, because that comes into a negative feedback loop. And part of our dysfunction with not being able to maintain good weight loss has come from you can't eat that and be on only this diet and only that diet. That's the dysfunction. That's where the inability to maintain weight management has come from. It's dysfunctional. Let's talk about the health of the food we eat. Let's talk about the nutrition that we deserve to get, and let's hold our food sources accountable to bringing to us medicinal, wholesome, nature-based foods that are not full of stuff that taste sometimes good, but truthfully could be poisoning us. So I took the topic and I expanded, and I did that intentionally. I don't even remember the question, but I just wanted to passionately put that out there, that I'm very big on food being medicine.
Thank you. Yeah, the question was the foods to stay away from, but I like your
I'll
approach.
just mention one that people won't like me that much for, so I'll just go for it. I think that as you get older, you have to be very careful about dairy cheese, simply because as that food group evolves from your childhood, you don't have as much as you think of the lactobacilli germ in your gut to break it down. And I see a lot of things coming from that. So I'll throw that one out there. How about that? And I won't talk about chocolates, and I won't talk about candy and stuff like that.
Okay. I'm just looking in the chat. Nancy says, I feel we should be paying Dr. Jatto for all of her expertise. Should we have had your Cash App up here? I'm just playing.
No,
I know I'm just playing.
Yeah, this comes from my heart. This comes from love. Robin, you know you approached me about this. To be honest, Robin knows it's super busy, and most of you live extremely busy lives. So I'm not trying to suggest in any way, form, or shape that you're not busy. But if I'm going to give, I'm going to give. But what I will tell you is this, that there's more to unravel. So I'm not sure how this setup goes, but it's a passion for me to help my people. And what I mean by my people is people who look like me, who think like me, who want to believe in taking care of themselves like me, who have a philosophy of empowerment. And so however it's figured out to reach out, please feel free to reach out. I do a ton of consultations. They're not an interactive, but I get as much joy as trying to individualize and create a strategy. And I don't feel that I should have all this in me and leave it within me. It's meant to be shared. So the least I owed everybody today was to share as much as I could with the time I have. I think I may be running into overtime. Are we there yet? Oh my goodness.
Good. No, you're good. You have until
a minute. I think
you have until 10:20. So you have a minute.
1 minute. So
if you go over, it's okay for a few questions. We want to take advantage of the opportunity to have you here.
Don't want to take from the beautiful women who are coming after me, because I would hate to have anybody's time cut short. To me, that's super important, that everybody gets the platform and just shares and loves on everyone, each other. I want to end by saying that I'm humbled to be the person who took the first dibs. I want to thank those who even started before me in terms of those who sang, those who meditated. I want to leave all of you with a thought that if you feel, if you believe, if you project, if you share the love and the wealth and the beauty that has bestowed upon you, then we can reach back and we can pull other young, beautiful, amazing women who are going to come when our time is over. Life is special. We have this amount of time where we're in the sun and we shine. We're going to eventually move out of the way to make way for my daughter's generation, and by God's grace, the generation after that. We want to make sure that the younger ones don't have to go through what we had to go through to get to the point where we began to understand, believe, speak, share, and empower ourselves in being well and Black beautiful. Please make sure that we pull them up. So part of our gift is to educate, but we must make sure that they don't start from where we started. They're going to have, if we do this right, a better way of being able to have the healthcare system individualize the way they are cared for and not cookie cutter their care based off of care of other ethnicities. So we have a moral obligation to ensure that as we soak this all in, as we grow through this, that we must make sure that those beautiful, amazing kids who are 5, 10, 20, they get to not only take this to the next level, but we must look back in pride, seeing how far they took it because of what we did. So I do want to end on that note, that that is upon us to make sure that every young Black girl and boy and person of color evolves from these types of experiences, that you're going to now go out there and you're going to make sure that you become that resource for them in whatever and however you do it. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Jatto. And before Dexy comes on, I just wanted to thank you again. Someone just texted me and said, you are so beautiful. You have a beautiful accent, and what you gave today was more than they could have ever imagined and expected during your presentation. And so for those, yes, Dr. Jatto is very beautiful and they love your accent. She's from Nigeria. She's from Nigeria. So yes, and someone said,
I will say, if I may, that your heart is where your home is, right? So I look at myself, and I will quickly say this, I look at myself as a woman of the world, because not only was I born in the US, like most of you who are coming onto this forum, I was blessed enough to have a parent who is Nigerian, who had the foresight to take us back to Nigeria in our formative years so that we can soak that amazing culture, to which I owe a debt of gratitude because he's no longer here. But I have another parent who is not Nigerian. And so I look at myself now as that person who's been blessed enough to live in 3 continents. And I bring with me into this space all of that as the foundation upon which I stand. So I just wanted to say that, because that accent is the joy that I bring to the table with the not only experiences of where I've lived, but the people from where they've come. So thank you again.
Thank you so much. The chat's still going off. They're saying, thank you, you're amazing. Gratitude, Dr. Jatto, empowered to empower. So now you all see why this beautiful woman is my physician. She takes care of me. The whole wellness, health is just been a dynamic partnership and relationship, doctor-patient. So I thank you. For those of you, I'm getting text messages out the wazoo who want to get in contact with Dr. Jatto. I'll see if I can put her information in the chat, or just email me, contact me, you have it, and I'll be happy to give you Dr. Jatto's information. Thank you again, Queen Dr. Jatto. Thank you so much for joining. Dexy?
Thank you, Dr. Jatto. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. It was an amazing, phenomenal presentation. And Dr. Robin, if I can, for just a moment, I'd like to recognize that one of our supporting partners is joining us this morning. Tara, if you'd like to say a word real quick. Tara Renee from African American Women in Cinema is joining us this morning, and we are so glad to have you here.
Oh, you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, beautiful.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you, Dr. Karen. This is absolutely amazing. Kudos to you and your great work. And to all the people here and your other supporters and sponsors, thank you so much for making this day happen. We truly need this. Dr. Jatto, you are just incredible. It is good to be able to come and sit down and be still for a moment and just gain all that we need to revive, rejuvenate, so that way we can go back to what we do refreshed, stronger, and more knowledgeable in how to maintain what God has given us. So thank you. It's an honor to be a part of this wonderful program today, and I celebrate with you, Dr. Moore. Super proud of you. Thank you so much
Thank you,
again.
my sister.